In Colombia, social organizations mobilize in support of the reform promoted by the President Gustavo Petro in the framework of the celebration of the 213th anniversary of the independence. In Peru, police repression left at least 11 people injured during a day of anti-government protests in the framework of the third takeover of Lima. In Kenya, after a day of clashes between the police and protesters, President William Ruto reiterated his warning to the opposition coalition, which called for a 3-day anti-government protests. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll begin with the news. Stay with us. In Colombia, social organizations mobilized in support of the reform promoted by the President Gustavo Petro in the framework of the celebration of the 213th anniversary of the independence. During the day, the second period of the Congress was also installed, which changed its composition with progressive left-wing political members. Likewise, members of social organizations called for a national day of mobilizations to show their support for the government of President Gustavo Petro. In this context, they affirmed that marches have the purpose of evidencing the struggle for the approval of reform in health, pension, and labor matters. On the occasion of the 213th anniversary of Colombia's independence, President Gustavo Petro traveled to the island of San Andres to commemorate the date. In the context of the recent decision of the Inter-American Court of Justice on the litigation, the President focused his speech on the history of victories that led to Colombia's independence 200 years ago and the history of defeats that in more recent years have caused the loss of territories to the country on several occasions.
The homeland is a living being, not a statue of marble, or copper, or bronze. The homeland is not inert, it is a flow of history, and it is built from the decisions of its societies, mistaken or not. History is the way in which a nation is built.
In Peru, police repression left at least 11 people injured during a day of demonstrations in the framework of the third takeover of Lima. Mobilizations continue after a call for a third takeover of Lima that gathered different communities from the north and south of the country to protest against Dina Boluarte and the Congress of the Republic. About 3,000 people gathered in the Plaza de Armas of Huancavelica, where the members of the National Police threw tear gas bombs to repress the demonstrators. The President of Bolivia, Luis Arce, informed that recent studies have increased the country's lithium reserve from 21 to 23 million tons. The country's Minister of Hydrocarbons and Energy, Franklin Molina, mentioned that 66 wells were drilled for the exploration of these salt flats, which gave positive results for the exploitation. In this context, Luis Arce's administration signed agreements with 2 Chinese and 1 Russian company to install direct exploitation plants.
The good news, which is also news, that will surely have international impact because it will consolidate the country as the third world reserve of lithium on the planet. And is that today we have not 21 but 23 million tons of lithium in Bolivian territory.
In Argentina, the Metallurgical Workers Union began a 48-hour national strike in the second stage of the plan of struggle proposed in the framework of the union review of sectors agreements. The strike was confirmed after the failure of the 6th hearing between the Ministry of Labor and the companies representing the metallurgical sector. The workers' union demands a 30% salary increase of the period from July to September, among other benefits. Meanwhile, the metallurgical union states that if the conflict persists, there will be a 72-hour strike next week. In Cuba, the first ordinary session of the 10th legislature of the National Assembly of the People's Power began, where the military penal code bill is being analyzed. With President Miguel Díaz-Canel and the General of the Army, Raúl Castro, the deputies debate a military penal code whose objective is to protect the rights and guarantees in the field of military services. Let's take a very short break, but remember you can now follow us on TikTok account as teleSUR English. There you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. On Thursday, the Russian President Vladimir Putin inaugurated first part of the Arctic LNG-2 Novatek, a large liquefied natural gas project in Murmansk. Novatek is one of Russia's key projects in its effort to open a northern sea road linking Asia and Europe, made possible by the global warming and the subsequent melting of the glaciers. The project, which has an estimated cost of $21 billion, aims to reach a production capacity of 19.8 million tons of liquefied natural gas per year through 3 production lines. Novatek controls 60% of the project, and its partners are China and Japan. With 3 days to go until the general elections in Spain, the authorities extend until Friday the deadline to cast votes by mail in view of the high participation of citizens in the modality. The closing of the postal votes had been proposed for Thursday, but due to the high demand of postal votes, it was extended until Friday to facilitate the suffrage of the citizens to the maximum. The leader of the ultra-right People's Party, Alberto Núñez Feijóo, let the men know that they must do their best to safeguard the votes of the Spanish people. In French President Emmanuel Macron's reshuffle his government on Thursday as he seeks to give a new boost in mass protests and riots in recent weeks. One of the strategies of the French head of state with this reshuffle is to seek political recognition and to turn it around ecology and to address his immigration reform. Thursday in the UK, the healthcare workers rallied to demand better paid and working conditions in the most recent strike that has hit the public health system. The 2-day consultants strike comes against a record patient waiting times due to the huge backlog of pandemic cases and multiple strikes across the economy in 2022 as workers battle the cost of a living crisis.
Creation of working conditions. I think it's not just about the pay, it's about generally being asked to work harder with obviously the erosion in the pay as well. So that's really enough's enough, I think. Yeah, listening to us. I suppose it's the problem with having a monopoly employer. You know, there's their rules or no rules. I don't know how I would feel if I had to extend my striking to longer periods, because again, I don't want to harm my patients. That's really goes against everything that I stand for as a doctor.
On Thursday, China defended its restriction on some Japanese imports over Japan's decisions to push forward with its plan to discharge treating radioactive wastewaters from the Fukushima nuclear power plant. Earlier this month, Chinese customs said it will keep corpse food imports from 10 Chinese prefectures, including Fukushima, despite the International Nuclear Watchdog's final assessment report, saying the release will cause negligibly radioactivity in the sea and not affect the neighboring countries. A Chinese government spokesperson said on Thursday that Japanese food safety has been scientifically proven and that they will ask China to leave relevant import cards.
The Chinese government upholds a people-centered governance philosophy, and we must be responsible for safeguarding people's health and the marine environment. Our opposition to Japan's ocean discharge plan and the relevant measures we are taking are well-grounded. China urges Japan to heed the calls of the international community, stop pushing its dumping plan, negotiate sincerely and fully with neighboring countries, and dispose of nuclear-contaminated water in a responsible manner, as well as accept strict international supervision.
Chinese authorities launched emergency measures after heavy rains flooded a stretch of roads in part of the east and northwest of the country on Thursday. Firefighters came to the rescue after some vehicles landed on the most affected roads. On Thursday morning, heavy downpours poured more than 100 millimeters of rainfall in the city of Sikshu in China's eastern Yunnan province, causing flooding on some stretch of urban roads. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you will be able to watch our interviews, top stories, special broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and active the notification bell to stay up on date to the world's most recent events. And we'll finalize our break, don't go away. Welcome back. On Thursday, Chinese President Xi Jinping met with former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger at the Taoyuan State Guest House in Beijing. President Xi said that 52 years ago, when China and the United States were at a crucial turning point, the two countries initiated the process of normalizing of U.S.-China relations, which brought benefits to both countries. Kissinger thanks President Xi for meeting him at Village 5 of the Guest House, the palace, where he had met with Chinese leaders during his visit to China. Kissinger also stressed that the U.S.-China relationship is essential to peace and prosperity of both countries and the world in general.
It is delightful to see Mr. Kissinger. It has been 3 years since we last met. You have just celebrated your 100th birthday, and I wish you good health and longevity. The Chinese people never forget old friends, and the name Kissinger will always be associated with China-US relations. The Chinese people will always remember. I hold you in high regard.
That the relations between our two countries would be central to the peace in the world and to the progress of our society.
In Kenya, after a day of clashes between the police and protesters, President William Ruto reiterated his warning to the opposition coalition, which called for a 3-day anti-government protests. Ruto spoke on Thursday in Isiolo, eastern Kenya, where he accused the opposition of sabotaging the academy with recurrent protests. Police fired tear gas and lip running in Kibera, Nairobi's biggest slum, as protesters threw back projectiles.
Kenya na hakuna vita na mali biashara ya wananchi isiharibike. Kenya is the only place we have to call home, and we must protect it by all means. We must protect our democracy. We must protect the peace in our country, because it is a collective responsibility of all of us as citizens.
Following the same line of Iraq, the Iranian government recalled the Swedish ambassador in Tehran after a nude desecration of the Quran in Stockholm. For the second time in the last few weeks, the Swedish government authorized a nude in reference to the holy Muslim book, the Quran. Following the event, Iraqis stormed the Swedish embassy in Baghdad early on Thursday morning in the protests against the disaccreditation of the Holy Book in the European country. For its part, the Iranian Foreign Ministry strongly condemned the repetitions of these actions and held the Swedish government responsible for the consequences of initiating the feelings of the Muslim world. For its support, the government of Iran announced that it will break diplomatic relations with Sweden in the event of the new burning of the Holy Book of Islam. The office of Prime Minister Mohammed Sheikh Sudani denounced that under the pretext of freedom of expression, authorizations are granted for demonstration that offends Muslims all over the world.
Today we are protesting the burning of the Quran and denouncing the Swedish government's attack on the freedom and beliefs of others. This is definitely a clear attack on the freedoms and beliefs of others.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also use us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. teleSUR English from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.